Podcast, WATP.
I was listening to El Horrible this morning, and he was talking about how Anthony getting the job for WABC is the best thing to happen to Opie's career since Westwood One hired him after Sirius. Like, he's getting so much juice now. Everyone's checking in on what Opie has to say and his take on these things. And, of course, the chat is nonstop bringing up Anthony. And so it's been a lot of fun. Stalin19 put this clip together for us, and it starts off with someone saying, all right, Opie, let's go. Let's talk Anthony. We don't, you know why we're all here.
AB normal. Let's talk about Anthony. Let's go. What are we waiting for? I don't really do that unless, you guys push me and you push me and you push me. And then I give my 2 cents.
He has to be pushed really hard to talk about Anthony, as we know. Usually a single free chat. It's what it takes.
Right. This
whole thing, Opie's pretending to take the high road. Just stop pretending. You're not taking the high road. You talk about Anthony, you pull clips of it and put it on your channel. All the clippers take the clips and put them on their channels. We all see it all the time. My advice, and a lot of people give advice to Opie. I have an example of that. My advice is to just go full Chad Zumach and just start a show bashing Anthony. That's what people want to see. That's what Opie likes to do. It makes perfect sense. I'll even give him a name for the show. He can call it Ant Fucking. Maybe there's something better. The point is, why wouldn't Opie just do a show fucking with Anthony? It's the only time since we started covering him that he's been getting juice outside of WATP. From what I've seen. Like, people are all talking about Opie right now.
Yeah, and then you could legit put his name on the thumbnails.
Right.
They have a reason for it.
Right. Yes.
And nobody's asking for it to be good either, because we know it won't.
No one expects it to be.
No, we know it won't be, but people will repurpose it for their own yucks. And
we want it to be trash.
They'll be tuning in for sure. So why not?
No. Instead, this idiot has to say, I didn't want to talk about Anthony. You just heard him say he doesn't want to talk about Anthony. And then it turns out he does have things to say.
I don't feel like talking about Anthony. You know, he's making this giant, huge comeback to AM radio on the weekends, doing 2 hours a week. That's massive news. There's no way he's even going to make $500 a week doing that. There's no way.
Huh. It's not about the money. I can't stress this enough. Opie's nonstop. Ever since he heard one of his chatters say Anthony says he's making $300,000, which he didn't, which was made up by a guy who was fucking with Opie, that then Opie repeated over and over and over again to make that the narrative. And now he's going, oh my gosh, it's just Sunday nights. He's probably not even getting paid that much money. Yeah, Anthony has said he doesn't care about the money. It's not the point of doing this at all. He's wealthy. He's doing fine. He has a revenue stream. I'm like, Opie, he is the co-owner of a company that has subscribers. So he has a very consistent revenue stream coming in.
It might be a way to draw a new audience to something that does make money.
Yeah.
I just love that we get to full on watch jealousy happening. Like, there's nothing more enchanting than watching jealousy. And that is exactly why that show would work. Because you would just get to watch Opie freak the fuck out all the time.
It's jealousy. It's coping. And he tries to couch it as, I don't even care what he's doing, man. That was 11 years ago we did a show together. It's like, it's eating him up. It's as soon as someone brings up his name, as soon as he sees the name Anthony, he has so many thoughts rattling around his head, he can't help but spit them all out.
I imagine that, like when people do affirmations in the mirror when they wake up, they're like, you're beautiful and you're going to be great. I imagine that he gets up, looks in the mirror, and he goes, Opie came first in Opie and Anthony. Opie was first. My name was first.
Opie discovered Jim
that's the
Norton.
Only way.
Opie discovered Anthony Cubia. Opie, Well, now he's really stretching things to say this.
It's not much more impressive than what I'm doing. Trust me.
That's the what a
So Opie is trying to say that Anthony getting a job for WABC is very similar to what Opie does, streaming to a few dozen people every morning from his apartment. It's not that much different. Oh, it's not even in the same ballpark. What you're doing anyone can do, and they do, and more successful than you do.
Yeah, and have more listeners.
Right. And I'm not saying that the Sunday night time slot's a good time slot. It's the worst time slot in radio. I know, because most of the times that I've been on local radio, it's Sunday nights. That's when they put all the local music shows on.
yeah.
They all compete with each other on all the FM channels. It's always Sunday night. But WABC, which I've said, highest rated AM station in the largest radio market in the United States, is leaps and bounds from what Opie is doing, embarrassing himself on a daily basis from his apartment. And so Opie's so upset, now he has to start name calling and making shit up.
What bothered me this week was Anthony thinking Sunday radio was a good decision. It might be a good decision for him, but Anthony's not a smart guy. You know, he plays smart, but he's actually not smart at all. And
I got to pause it right there, because to say that Anthony's not smart is, no one's going to go along with this. I've seen Anthony sit down with Neil deGrasse Tyson and have an hour and a half long conversation with the guy. And Anthony knows a lot of things. He knows a lot about a lot. He's a very intelligent, thoughtful guy. Opie's a fucking moron who doesn't know anything about anything. He couldn't have an hour and a half conversation with anyone except unless they're like drinking buddies.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Carl Ruiz about the chick who just walked by, or the homeless person outside of the window.
He still sounds like an idiot.
Right. So the fact that he's now saying that, oh, yeah, Anthony is an idiot, and that's why he took this job.
He made the mistake to make it a really, really big deal that he's coming back to radio.
So Opie is saying that Anthony made a mistake by playing up the fact that he's got a job on WABC. But this proves that Opie is stupid, because it's actually the best thing you can do. This is a story that in my world is blown up. Like, a lot of people are talking about Anthony going back to WABC because here was a guy who was shunned from mainstream and would never get a job on the radio ever again. I mean, his first book was called Permanently Suspended. It was no one thought this was possible a few years ago, that Anthony would get hired by WABC in New York. And so he did, and it's not a great time slot, and he did play it up, and everyone's talking about it, which is great for Anthony, because Anthony is selling a product.
Yeah, why wouldn't you promote it?
Compound censored. Well, what's Anthony doing? Oh, he's doing a show? Oh, it's every Monday through Thursday, 4:30 to 6. I can go.
They're going to check it out.
Sign up and check it out. He's on the radio now. And Opie pretends that this is actually a bad thing, that he promoted this, and then it makes him look bad. And he uses this word that I think is very childish.
And then he had to admit that they're pretty much throwing him on on a Sunday night for 2 hours. You probably should have downplayed your return to radio. But he's not smart. He really isn't a smart guy.
Good one, Opie. Opie's got nothing on this, too. He just laughs.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a take. He's just like, oh, he's dumb. He was so dumb, man.
He's also ugly.
Oh, man, it's so dumb and ugly. Now, he used the word admit. And I really keyed in on this. He goes, man, that was so stupid, Anthony, because eventually he had to admit he's working the Sunday night shift. Admit.
Yeah.
Promote.
Right.
Yeah.
Anthony came out and said, hey, guys, if you want to listen to my show, I'm 8 to 10 on Sunday nights. And he said, and I'm hoping that I do a good job and I get an afternoon time slot. And we'll see if that happens. I'd bet on Anthony on this one. He has a pretty good track record when it comes to broadcasting.
Oh, it wasn't a confessional?
That's what I mean. It's like, and then he had to come out and admit that it's like...
Yeah, he was forced to do it. He was very upfront about everything he was doing.
Yes, right. And so Opie's so stupid, he thinks that Anthony played his cards wrong for some reason, when it's just the opposite. In fact, if Anthony had come out and just been like, I got this crappy gig, it's Sunday nights, it wouldn't have gotten as much conversation going. No. He played this perfect. Instead, he touted WABC, and he was on the morning show 2 mornings in a row, and they talked about it with the host, and they made a big deal about it. Like, that's the play.
Yes.
So stupid.
Who is agreeing which one is stupider? The guy that managed to find another job in radio, or the guy that is going live on Facebook who can't seem to figure out lighting, can't seem to figure out an angle that is flattering in any single way, can't figure out how to snipe stream a show that an idea is a complete no-brainer? of him sniping Anthony's show.
Yeah.
He can't even figure out,
And
Facebook.
don't forget, Opie constantly was begging to be back on radio up until all of this. I mean, that was his ultimate goal. All he wanted to do was be back on radio. Carl, you've brought up like 1,000 times the fact that he cleans up all of the language. Whenever he was in Gebhardt's, he would be like, oh, no, don't say those words because he thinks he's still on radio. That's his dream, is to be back on radio.
Him and Aaron Imholt both do this thing where they consistently go on at a very early hour in the morning and do their show. And it's to show the radio execs that they're dependable and they can still do it. See, guys, I could be your morning jock. I'm doing that right now. And you're right, Lucy. Opie made a conscious decision about a year ago to clean up the language and not swear and make everything he does on YouTube radio friendly, and he yells at his guests if they don't do that.
You know what you just made me realize? If I was working at a radio station and I was trying to find somebody who was a dependable new morning radio guy, the last guy that I would want would be the dependable YouTube guy, because clearly Aaron and Opie have already built such vast, wonderful communities in those time slots. They would never want to give it up to be on radio.
Yeah, you have to be a miserable failure to want to go to the radio if you've been doing this for years on the internet.
But in Opie's mind, he's like, oh my God, it's such a success. So many people are listening to me. Why would he trade that for a radio show? Like, I wouldn't even approach him according to Opie's narrative.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
And Opie never brings up that he's going to continue doing, Ant's going to continue doing his show in addition to the radio show.
Yeah.
He makes it sound like he is trading it, and it's not.
And he's not making any money doing it. It's like, that doesn't matter at all. Eric Nagel's in the chat. He says, for someone who would tout that he was the guy who put the pieces together and planning things out, he has zero capability for seeing things down the line, the potential, possibilities. He doesn't want to see them. Yeah, and Missy B's in the chat too. Anthony didn't have to give up or trade in his show. Right. Yeah, exactly the point that you guys just made. It's like, no, he gets to cross-promote now.
And Anthony has found a way to evolve with the medium. It's gone from celestial radio to satellite radio to on the internet to having YouTube and all these other, Rumble ways to get your product out there. And now Aaron and Opie are just like ringing your doorbell saying, hey, I'm still bringing you milk. Remember Milkmen?
Right.
This thing that we don't need anymore? I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
Why? Just figure out the new fucking thing.
And Opie actually does talk about in this episode how he is trying new things and trying to figure out the next thing. What were we going to say, Lucy?
I was just going to say that's exactly why Anthony did it so correctly, because he didn't have to give up or trade his show. But if Opie did it, he would, because he's in that time slot.
Right.
Never mind.
Yes, no, you're right.
I'm angry about it.
Opie says something right here that is a blatant lie.
I'm right where I want to be in life, if you want to know the truth. So, no, it doesn't bother me, whatever you were going to say next. And I'm sure it was something shitty.
Opie is right where he wants to be. How many clips have we played on this show in the past couple of weeks where he said, I wish I had more viewers. I wish I was making more money doing this. He keeps throwing shit at the wall. He keeps trying new channels and new content. Mm-hmm. Don't even get me started on his TikTok. I mean, we covered this on Who Are These Socials. It's so retarded.
He has that if you want to know the truth.
If you want to know, I'm actually really
Let me put it this way.
His hair's all disheveled. He's like, I'm obviously doing very well up here, guys.
Just because you're in a penthouse apartment with a house in the Hampton, I mean, if Citizen Kane taught us anything, it's that financial success like that doesn't equate to happiness.
No.
You're clearly not happy.
No, you know what equates to happiness is achievement.
Right.
When you actually accomplish things and you create things, that will give you a sense of purpose, which leads to contentment and happiness. And Opie has none of those things for years now, and it's driving him fucking insane. And the fact that he's going to lie to himself and to us and say he's happy is ridiculous.
All right, Richulo. Since being fired, Anthony has done nothing but write 2 books, run a podcast platform for 10 years, and go back to radio. He should try harassing hardworking people for a podcast. All right, you paid $9 for that? You're defending Anthony? He didn't write 2 books, first of all. He barely put pen to paper.
Okay, if you want to get real technical about Johnny Russo, I mean, there are 2 books. They're right there behind me. I see them right there, along with Jim Norton's books. So, yes, he did.
It's like saying, I read a book. Well, I listened to the audiobook. I guess I didn't really read it.
Whatever. We got it. We get the gist of it. He put out 2 books.
He talked into his notes app. He didn't write it.
And what did Opie accomplish in that same time? He successfully moved his car out of the way of the street sweeper and then got his spot back again.
That's something.
Nice.
That is basically what we can surmise of Opie's accomplishments at the same time.
You said this about Patrick Michael before, and probably a lot of the lolcows that we target. Opie gets mad and he just starts swinging like a little kid. He first goes, "You paid $9 for that," and Anthony didn't write 2 books. He just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Don't put the chat on, you idiot.
Well, yeah, right. The crazy thing about this, the reason why Opie is getting mad is he has to downplay what Anthony's accomplished because he's done nothing.
Right. And he's terrible at it.
If Opie had gone on to be successful on Sirius and build this afternoon show that they gave him and maybe parlay that into a podcast and keep that thing rolling, he wouldn't be talking about Anthony's books or Compound Media and the network that Anthony built and all the shows that he discovered and brought on Compound. He wouldn't have to talk about any of that.
He would be active and he would be happier.
Right. The fact that he has to try to downplay what Anthony's done is so disingenuous. It just shows you that he knows that he's insecure about what he's done.
Mm-hmm. Supposedly, the word got out he was going to make $300,000 a year. I don't know if he started. I have no idea who started, but we all knew that was a joke. Doing 2 hours a week on AM radio. I swear to you, I'd be surprised if they're giving him more than $200 a week.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's making a lot of money owning a company. He's not worried about that. He wants to get on radio again. He's hoping to get syndicated, be in a ton of markets, and talk to a lot of people about politics. That's the goal. And Opie either refuses to acknowledge that fact or is so hung up on money because he hasn't made money in so long. That's the only way he can think. Yeah. I think it's probably the latter. Opie's just like, oh my gosh, why would you take a job unless it pays you X amount of dollars? It's like, well, no, Opie, there's a longer term idea here of what we're going to accomplish by doing that. Also, he goes, $300,000. Everyone knew that was a joke. I don't know where that came from. It was one of your chatters, and then you repeated it over and over and over again because Anthony never said that. Now, this next clip right here, we have been documenting Opie is Stuttering John. Adam Bush keeps pointing this out, that aside from the alcoholism, they're the same guy, and the wealth, they're the same guy. And we're going to see a perfect example of that here, one that I've never seen Opie do before.
I think I'm muted, but just in case I'm not Anthony, I'm not. Oh, I think I'm muted, but just in case I'm not. You need punctuation, dude. Because your comment makes it sound like you're trying to say you're not Anthony. I'll fix it for you. I think I'm muted, but just in case I'm not, Anthony rules. Whatever makes you sleep better at night, brother man. But let's not get overly excited by his 2 hours a week on AM radio on a Sunday night. Oh my God, did he blow that one? Of course he blew it.
Correcting grammar.
Yeah. And another parallel is they both have terrible fake laughter.
Yes, they both laugh
You
at
can
themselves.
tell when they're pissed.
Right. You can tell that they're actually upset about what they're doing. But the fact that he had to go through that and just go, oh my gosh, you don't even understand how to write that sentence that's insulting to me. Let me explain it to you.
So let me drag it out further.
Right.
Did you notice there? He's controlling the chat, right? Obviously, he's putting the comments
of
up.
Of course.
He went from one question about Anthony to skipping past the question about when are you going to do your bar stream show? Like, when are you going to do something other than sit in your own house? Right to the next clip, or the question that had Anthony's name in it. So he's just skipping past the things that require something of him and jumping to these talking points.
Right. And he always starts out by saying, I'm not doing this today, guys. I don't want to talk about Anthony today.
Yeah.
And then every chat he brings up, there's other chats in there. He has other choices. Or
so
don't bring up the chat at all.
Yeah. So he's making these choices.
Correct.
He could talk about when he's doing this bar stream. Nobody's going to watch
This was my point. The first clip we played is that he's pretending to take the high road while actively not taking the high road. Mm-hmm. He wants to have it both ways. And it's so obvious. And he's going, everyone's making this big deal about this stupid slot Anthony has. Actually, no. We're making a way bigger deal about your cope. I mean, I probably won't hear Anthony's show. I don't live in New York. I don't know if I'll download the app or not. But I'm more excited about Opie's coping with this than Anthony got this job because it's eating him up inside. And I'm loving it. And you know who else is enjoying it is our potato friend. What's up, Cardiff?
I was not enjoying it.
Oh. Yeah, I forgot you're friends with Opie, right?
Love Opie. It's the best.
You guys go way back. Well, you came on just in time because this is where Opie starts talking about me and maybe even you, Cardiff.
I don't care. Supposedly another live streamer just won't shut up about me. Oh, really? Nothing impressive. It's so funny because like some of these low-level live streamers, they're doing better than me, but they'll never come close to the success I have. And eventually the little low-level success they're having in the live streaming world, the low level, that's going to go away. And then in the end, what did you do? You did nothing.
Opie, you ever hear the term, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey? The fact that Opie is still resting on that.
Smith quoted that.
I believe so. The fact that he's still resting on the fact that I made millions of dollars, therefore I'm better than you. Yeah, but we're all enjoying our lives. So therefore, careful what you wish for, right? And this is a guy who got everything he ever wanted and he's miserable. It did not work out for him to the point where he's calling out, I'm sure that's pointed at me. Am I being myopic on this one?
As soon as he says low level, I think of this show.
Low level live streamers who are doing better than me. And I go, I think he's talking about me. No.
You're literally broadcasting from a lower level than him.
That's true.
Much lower, yes. Yeah. 500 plus feet lower than what he's doing.
It does sound like he's saying lol level, though.
If only, yes, he could create a whole new category. Then he says eventually it'll go away. Live streaming will? It's the current thing, everyone. What do you mean?
Yeah, it will not.
Yeah, what is he talking about? Yeah, and then eventually it'll go away. Why? Because your job went away? I don't feel people shitting, so I think I'm going to be okay for a while. It works out really well for me. All right. Yeah, E-Rock is in here. He's getting fired up too, all caps. You are a low-level live streamer, yes. It's too fun.
E-Rock.
We're having too much fun over here. Oh, this is Opie giving advice. This is great.
And Anthony should have said, they're thinking of getting me involved a little bit here at ABC, but he made it sound like, oh my God, we need this genius on WABC. So then his fan base just chomp, ate it all up. Like, oh my God, Anthony's making a huge return to radio. What shift is he going to have? Is he going to bring back the glory days of Opie and Anthony? How much money is he going to make? He did all that.
Did he?
Nope.
He got everyone talking. That's for sure. In Opie's mind, he's like, he probably shouldn't even told anyone he got the job. He should just kept it on the DL and not even announced it.
Because there's no in between.
What an idiot.
Anthony couldn't have announced it more humbly.
Yes.
But there's no in between for Opie.
Anthony never bragged about making a lot of money. He never said that he was taking over on the morning show or he was going to have a great time slot. He just said, I got hired by WABC. I'm going to be on the air again in New York City.
Yeah. I hope something comes of it.
The arrogance.
The arrogance right. to announce something like that.
How dare he?
All right. So Tim Sabian apparently called Opie the day before this. And this is from yesterday. So I guess the day before yesterday, Tim Sabian called up. And Tim had some advice for the Opster. Now, Tim Sabian was running the Opie and Anthony show for some time, and then he left satellite radio, and then he went to Westwood One, where he hired Opie to do Opie radio for Westwood One. The worst hire Tim Sabian's ever made. It did not work out well for anyone involved. But him and Tim are still close. And
he had the #1 podcast for a week.
Number 2, yes, for a week when it first came out.
And then Gary Busey was like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, that was a great episode. That was one of the few where Opie was actually in his stupid studio talking to a guest. It was a cubicle, but it was the best they could do for him over there. So Tim's giving him some advice.
He's like, oh, why aren't you? He's like, why aren't you in a proper studio? Maybe at a comedy club. talking to all the comedians that are going to be performing that night or that weekend. And I told Tim, I'm like, you're not wrong, Tim. But I also feel like I did it, and I'm trying to figure out something new and different for myself. I go, I love doing the Get Thoughts. I'm trying to develop that a little more into something, but I don't want to be in a studio anymore doing what I did for so many years and did it well. So it would be a bit of a drop off because I can't capture that magic again. That was crazy.
Get confident, stupid.
So right there, Opie's admitting that he can't actually do a real broadcasting job because it won't go well.
We know.
But at the same time, he's going, Tim's telling me I should go, and that's an interesting idea. Go to the comedy club, talk to the comics before they go on, and maybe watch their set and review it or something on your show. Whatever, he'd do something like that. And Opie's thoughts is, I'm not going to change anything I'm doing now, even though nothing is working. He's a miserable failure doing this.
No, he's so happy.
That's right, I
Did you
forgot.
see how happy he was?
Forgot how he's enjoying himself so much.
It's worse than that. He said it would be a big drop off to do something like that from where he's been. But
Right.
wouldn't it be better than what he's doing now?
Yes.
Would it be less of a big drop off?
Anything would
was
be
doing
better than what he's doing now.
You guys keep forgetting how happy he is.
I do, because I'm not seeing it.
Thank you for
He's gonna
reminding
remind
us.
me. He's gonna remind me more often.
I think that's what Opie needs is Lucy Tightbox on his show, just reminding everyone how happy he is.
No, I'll pass. Thank you, though.
Lucy, you've never said no to a podcast.
I know. That would be my time.
That is a low blow to Opie.
I'm sorry, Opie. I'm on the Backyard Boys that day, so I can't.
I'm with Neil Gaiman.
I wish.
I go,
Come
I
on.
just don't want to do it that way. He goes, but I swear, look, clip it. I don't give a crap, but this is exactly what Tim Sabian said. He goes, but you're the best at it. You're the best at it. I go, I know, Tim, but I did it already. You know, if I can figure out like how to make my windowsill show a little better or my live at Get Thoughts a little better, I'd be a happy boy. And to make a few extra bucks.
Oh, all the stuff that you've been talking about. How you want your shows to be better. Do you want to make more money, but you don't want to like take good advice? That was hysterical, though. He goes, Tim told me, Opie, you're the best at it. I go, I know. Which is it, Opie? Do you have zero confidence that you can pull this off? Or do you agree with Tim that you're the best at this, but you just want to continue to do this show, this low-level show, this lazy... By the way, I got to bring this up. We talked about on the show that Opie had a meeting with a guy who used to work for Anthony, and he didn't want to say who it was. And
The soda drinker.
I asked E-Rock, and E-Rock's like, I know, but I don't want to say who it is. The guy who it is friendly with the show. I've talked to him many times. He still watches. He reached out to me. He goes, that was me. So I know who it was who met with Opie. And he actually shared with me the notes that he gave to Opie and the suggestions that he had, which is really interesting because he's got Opie Unleashed. Start a new YouTube channel just for non-talk content. Put the long form and short form clips there. Also stream posts to Instagram/TikTok. So it seems like he does take advice sometimes from these people who are trying to help him out.
Are there any other ideas in there for
So
me?
it's not Opie's fault, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I would take advice from this guy, but he's good at what he
Does
does.
it say walk aimlessly around?
Yes. All right. So, yeah, the reason why Tim is talking to Opie is because I don't know what Tim is up to these days. He's been a high-level executive at a number of media companies. I think he's just floating around.
The reason why Tim calls me from time to time, he's trying to get something together, and he absolutely wants to bring me on board. But I keep telling him, I'm like, Tim, you throw me in a studio to rot, I'm not going to like you. And if you get this thing you're working on up and running, he's waiting for funding, supposedly. It's got to be different. Maybe you could build out the basement of Get Thoughts or something, make it different, and then I'll be interested.
So Opie's idea is, will you make my show in the basement of the bar I like to hang out at more professional looking? Tim's like, no, that's not what we're doing here at all, sir. Just trying to give you advice on like how to do an actual show.
Is it his problem that at one point his career, he didn't have to do anything that he's kind of being asked to do now, which is assemble a show? He had producers, he had people turning on the studio, engineers and all that. And all he really did is show up and shoot the shit with people he had no business shooting the shit with.
Yep.
And he's like, well, I can't go back to not doing anything other than just showing up.
He's a lazy man. Another Stuttering John parallel where he won't do prep. He makes fun of our show format because he says anyone could do that. That's easy. Just pull clips and then respond to the clips. He goes, it's harder to like have things to talk about and to come on and have opinions about things. And then Opie comes on and just reads the chat. That's his only show format, just reading the chat.
It's taking calls.
Right. Which is the equivalent of like taking calls like he used to do back in the day. But, E-Rock is here. E-Rock is here, and he'll tell you, those guys used to do so much prep for the Opie and Anthony show, and they would be there early getting all this stuff together, and Opie would never bother reading any of it or going over it. God forbid he'd watch the movie that starred the person who was going to be the guest on the show that day so he could have some questions or a conversation with them.
It's a lot of asks of Opie at this stage in his career to be like, the only thing that I'll do is let everybody do everything for me, but also there has to be a couple $100,000 in it for me.
Right.
What the fuck are you thinking?
Well, here is an example. And I actually, there was a guy who was in our chat who said he used to work for Opie. So I said, oh, email me. I'd love to have you on the show or something. He did email me. He doesn't want to come on the show, but he told me some details about working for Opie and the direction Opie was giving him and what he wanted to do and stuff. So I know that Opie has guys who are helping with the channel and put these clips up and stuff. Look at this latest clip. This is what Opie's putting on his channel right now. This is a 16-second clip that he put up as its own video.
Oh, the fear of being outside, that sucks. I obviously have the fear of success.
That's a video called Opie Explains Why He's No Longer Successful. Opie Radio
I
Podcast.
hate it.
You didn't think that was a good one?
No, I hate it so much.
Well, you're going to love this. The other thing that Opie is doing, because he is throwing everything at the wall right now, and I love that about him. He's picking the perfect opportunity. Stuttering John goes away. Opie goes, I'm going to put out 4 times as much content. I'm like, great, thank you. So, of course, he's doing the Unleashed. He's doing his TikTok stuff. He's doing the morning streams. He's doing Gebhard's. But he's also going back and finding old clips with Carl Ruiz and repurposing those. And so this clip just came out on his channel as well.
We're at La Cubana, Carl's new restaurant, where Carl has been since I saw him 12 hours ago.
The same stories with this guy. I came in for a rare day in New York City because in the summer I just chill out at the beach. I came to La Cubana just like you said, but I found him passed out in booth 78. Yeah.
So I was in 78.
78 passed out and they were checking his pulse. I'm like, oh, that's good. Carl's rated podcast.
That's a restaurateur. Oh, that's how I found him today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I brought it up.
I don't remember his name, but dude over there in the white shirt. I was like, hey, I'm Matt. Is Carl around? He's like, oh, I'll look for him. I was like, oh, if he's busy, don't worry about all the He goes, we have different definitions of busy. And he leads me over here. And Carl's asleep on the couch. And he's like, hey, buddy, your friend Matt's here.
And what does it say about us, Matt, that we both love this guy?
Oh, my God.
Me and you had the issues, not him.
Oh, my God.
What I find odd about this clip is how unnoteworthy it is, first and foremost, but also Carl Ruiz, not long after this, died in his sleep. He was an unhealthy guy. He was like 42 years old, and he just didn't wake up, which is odd. And Opie puts out, and I'm sure Carl had a very good sense of humor. I'm sure he wouldn't give a shit. But Opie puts out a video of like, oh my gosh, this guy is always here, and he's passed out at work.
Had to check his pulse.
Can you believe it? That crazy? He's always just like, I don't know if he's wasted or what's going on, but he's passed out in the booth. Huh.
Because Opie doesn't know what a hard worker is.
No, that's a good point. Yes.
Who are these podcasts? WA